Hi, this is Dave, LosOlasPicks.com. This week, I'm going to take a look at the finances behind a Brightline service. Brightline is a passenger rail service from Miami to Fort Lauderdale, West Palm Beach, and eventually to Miami. And I do an update on the Brightline every week, so subscribe to follow along and turn on alerts so you don't miss anything. This week, I'm going to take a look at finances. I've got some detailed documents behind the bond issue. We'll go through them a little bit, look at the estimates on what the fare is probably going to be, and there's a few other interesting pieces of information that you find out when you peel back the covers and dig through the documents. Now, because Brightline is privately owned, it's impossible to get detailed information. They just won't tell you. Like if you want to know how many passengers that rode the train last week, it's really hard to find out something like that. If it was a public company, you'd be able to go and find out from the documents that they have to file with the SEC, but because it's a private company, we don't have that. But the bond issue is another matter. The bonds are being sold, so the documents have to be filed with the SEC. The funding corporation, the development corporation that handles the financing, is a public operation. So I've got some details from that, and I'm going to go through those. So one of the more interesting characterizations that I heard was from one of the engineers working on the train, that it's a horizontal elevator because of the developments at each station. The part of the business strategy is that we're creating customers for the train by doing real estate developments at each station. In a way, it's a little bit like Henry Ford selling Fords to his own employees. So that's an interesting perspective. So All Aboard Florida, that runs the Brightline train, is actually a combination railroad, passenger service, and real estate development. The real estate developments include residential and also office buildings. So this is at the Fort Lauderdale station. There's no actual construction of the office building going on, but there is a billboard here with a picture of it, and the lot behind the sign looks ready to go. This building lot is right next to the parking garage, which is right behind the station. So it's literally connected. Now, right behind the West Palm station, we've got this building. This is an apartment building that's got the parking garage incorporated into it. This is the website for the apartment building. I'll leave a link for this website in the description. Now, this looks like a pretty nice building with amenities. It's got the swimming pool on the 12th floor, but the website emphasizes the location and the Brightline, the fact that this building is located at the station and you can live in the building and work in Fort Lauderdale or Miami. And here's the billboard for the Miami Central station, which will have 2 large apartment buildings and 1 office building. The Brightline folks have actually already moved into the office building in this complex. And here's the website for the Miami Central complex. The picture that I showed a minute ago was taken about a month ago, so the construction on that complex is farther along. The Miami station differs from Fort Lauderdale and West Palm also in that it has retail space, which West Palm and Fort Lauderdale don't have. I did a whole video on this station, the Miami station under construction. So now I take a really quick look at what the fares are going to be. Now, Brightline has said they want to make the fares comparable to or competitive with driving. So let's look at what that cost is using 54.5 cents, which is the IRS's reimbursement rate. Here's the number of miles for each of these routes and what the cost is. Now it's sort of a total cost of ownership, including insurance and tires and gas and the depreciation on the car and the entire cost. And that's what I think they mean when they say comparable to driving, not just gas. And here's what the fares are today. They're $10 and $15. And of course, you can only go from Fort Lauderdale to West Palm, so we don't know what's going to happen when they open Miami, what the fare is going to be from West Palm to Miami. Now we know these are introductory fares. They've said they're going to run very low fares in the beginning. Also on the website, they've got this section of packs and packages. which are discounts, a quantity, price, or whatever you want to call it. Those aren't actually enabled yet. They're tantalizing, but you can't click on them and get any kind of rate. So let's dig a little deeper. This is a document that was prepared for the Board of Directors meeting to review the bond issue in October last year. What I want to show you in here is there's a summary at the beginning. That's the summary by Larson Consulting Services that was done, and this has details of the issue, of the bond issue. But it also has a summary of the, let me see if I can find it here. Yeah, Brightline Ridership and Revenue Summary. So this is interesting reading. And the most interesting thing here is the cash flow summary that shows the expected number of passengers and the expected revenue for each year 2018 through 2022. So by simple arithmetic, you can divide the passengers by the revenue and see what the average fare is. But then following this, there is some more information. There's a slideshow, and the slideshow includes an average fare number of $37. Now this is for this in 2020. Now this is for the south part, not including the run to Orlando, and this number also, it's not clear whether this is one way or round trip. It just doesn't say in here anywhere, but I'm assuming it's one way. But you also have to take into account that there are two classes of service. Currently those are 10 and 15, so the higher class of service costs 50% more. So you'd have to back into this. Also that some passengers would be going from Miami to West Palm, others just between West Palm and Fort Lauderdale, or between Fort Lauderdale and Miami. So you don't know what the breakdown is. So if the average is 37, presumably it costs more to go from Miami to West Palm. So you can't really tell from the average what the actual fares are going to be. But there's even more interesting information in here. Let me go and find it. Page 124. This is the document. This is out of the middle of one of these bond documents. There's hundreds of pages of gobbledygook in here that's mostly details, financial details and rules and procedures and attestatements and trust assignments and all kinds of crap. But buried in the middle of all that stuff, this is page 123 of the document, there is a description of the project, and I've highlighted some things here and I just want to go through them. So I'm not going to dwell on it because you can go to this document yourself. The link is in the description. You can also pause the video and read this stuff if you want to, but I've highlighted the stuff that I just really want to focus attention on. The company is developing a privately owned and operated express intercity passenger rail infrastructure project running 235 miles from Miami and Orlando, Florida, which is one of the most heavily traveled corridors in the United States. The company believes the project is the first major private U.S. intercity rail project in over a century. That's interesting. There's also this buried in here. Southeast Florida ranks globally as the 10th most congested urban area in terms of peak hours spent in congestion, and 5th within the U.S. for traffic congestion. So we really need a train here. There's another statement here. The trains will be able to make the 67-mile trip from Miami to West Palm in approximately 1 hour while offering onboard amenities to passengers. It also says here, which I highlighted in sort of purple, with train speeds up to 125 miles an hour, the South Segment project. But the trains on the South Segment is the part that goes from Miami to West Palm Beach, and the trains don't go 125 miles an hour on this segment, and I don't believe they ever will. So this is a sign that this document is edited from the 2015 version of the document, which included the Orlando segment, and also this is just a draft anyway. It says here that the company expects the passenger rail operations to carry 2.94 million passengers annually by 2020. And this doesn't include the Orlando link. This document is only talking about the South segment. Because of the high number of passengers expected to transit through the company's downtown stations, there are several attractive retail, residential, and commercial transit-oriented real estate development opportunities at or near the company's owned sites. The company expects that one or more of its affiliates will pursue these development opportunities. Actually, they already are. Those These transit-oriented development projects will not constitute collateral for the Series 2017 bonds, but the company believes that they may contribute to increased ridership. This is really interesting that the real estate deals are not part of the bond issue and they're not collateral for the bond. Now, that doesn't include the stations. When you read further in here, the stations, the actual train stations in Fort Lauderdale and West Palm Beach, are collateral for the loan, and even in Miami. But I think the station, although it's got two residential towers in it, basically high-rises, and an office building, and I don't believe that those buildings, and there's also another adjacent building that they already built, I don't think those buildings are included as collateral, but the station itself is. Coming on here, the company expects 32 departures, 16 round trips from Miami to West Palm, at speeds up to 125 miles an hour. Again, this is in here in several places, and there's nothing in this phase of the project that includes trains going 125 miles an hour. The company expects that its passenger rail service will be used by a diverse mix of travelers, including international passengers. Such diversity of ridership will decrease the company's dependency on any one type of traveler and will also allow the company to maximize revenues while achieving higher load factors. This is actually an important point because of the nature of South Florida. We are a business center with a lot of business actually in all three of these cities, but especially in Miami. But we're also a tourist destination with a huge number of tourists. We also have in Orlando and Miami 2 of the 5 largest convention centers in the country, so we're a huge destination for business travelers going to conventions, and we have a lot of intercity commuter traffic. There's a lot of people that live in Fort Lauderdale and work in Miami, and it's actually a terrible commute. So the company expects ticket sales to account for 91% of the company's passenger rail revenue. Let me see. The company will employ search. I just highlighted this because I think it's hilarious. The company will employ search engine optimization technology to direct customers to its website for ticket purchases, along with every other website on the internet. Travelers will be able to select specific seating and coach preferences, such as a solo seat in a quiet car. That's the first time I've seen quiet car mentioned. The company expects to generate approximately 9% of its revenue through a number of ancillary sources intended to support or enhance its rail service, advertising, food and beverage, merchandise, sponsorship, affiliations. They're talking about putting advertisements in the stations, even commissions from the companies. Travel partners, so in other words, they'll sell a joint ticket where you get a train ride and an airfare, and they get a little commission on the airfare, and through ground transportation extensions. Through those relationships, the company would act as an agent, seeking to include travel partners or destinations, product or service in a packaged vacation for the company's rail passengers. Now, to me, that doesn't seem likely. It doesn't seem like Brightline is going to be the best agent to be selling packages. I would think it would be the other way around, where other vendors who are selling packages would include Brightline tickets in their packages rather than this way around. Private reserved trains for conventions and groups outside normal schedule services would also be available for charter. Here's some information about the trains. Each train set consists of 2 diesel-electric locomotives and 4 stainless steel coaches, 240 passengers, and top speed again of 125 miles an hour. They point out here that that's the reason they have 2 engines. I don't know if I have that highlighted here, but that's the reason they have 2 engines, one in front and one in behind, is to achieve the speed of 125 miles an hour, and also that they would then be redundant if one of these engines develops a problem. They're not going to be stuck. They'll be able to limp to a station. As ridership ramps up, additional coaches will be added to the trains, such that each train will be composed of 2 locomotives, 6 coaches, and a cafe car, for a total capacity of 356 passengers per train. Now, it seems unlikely that they would include a cafe car in the south segment. If you're only going between these Miami, West Palm, and Fort Lauderdale, you're not going to put a cafe car. That's got to be something that's added later. So again, I think this is language that's left over from when the document was addressing the entire segment. The company has executed a maintenance agreement with Siemens and the rolling stock, who is the rolling stock provider for warranty and preventative maintenance, so they're making those costs predictable. The company currently has new stations in Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and West Palm. The company also intends to construct a station in Orlando. Well, we kind of knew that, but here it is in black and white that they're going to build the station, and not use some existing facility. Here's some information about the Miami station, but this is referring to the Metro Mover as a free elevated people mover, and the Metro Mover, as far as I know, the Metro Mover is no longer free. It was free up through sometime, I think, late last year, but now they're charging for it. I think I don't know, it's $1 or something. It's very cheap, but it's not free anymore. And there is the potential for the company's Miami station to be linked with Tri-Rail, as discussed further below under commuter opportunity. And so there's a bunch of language in here about future possibilities for commuter trains, and specifically Tri-Rail. But we know that Tri-Rail is already building track and will have 2 tracks into the station. So Tri-Rail is going to be in the station, probably, maybe even before Brightline is, or at the same time that Brightline is. So this again is language left over from earlier version of the document. This is talking about the Miami station. The station's mezzanine level consists of a primary concourse for passengers directly connect to other modes of transportation, such as Metro Rail and Metro Mover. So, of course, as I did a video on the Miami station. If you haven't seen that, go watch that. And it shows the Metro Rail, the Metro Mover, and Tri-Rail. It also explains what Metro Rail and the Metro Mover are. In Fort Lauderdale, the station is located a few blocks from Fort Lauderdale's Los Olas Boulevard, which is where I live, and that's where my channel gets its name, Los Olas Pics. And the expected future site of the city's Wave electric streetcar system. Now, I have a video about that because that ain't going to happen. There's not going to be a Wave streetcar. And I have a video describing that. At the time I'm recording this video, that's not up yet, but it will be sometime in the next few days. The company's stations were designed to accommodate additional future low-level platforms to connect with commuter rail trains and station locations for intermodal connectivity. I have that highlighted because that's just not true. If you look at the Fort Lauderdale and the West Palm Beach stations, there's no way they could accommodate future low-level platforms in those stations, as far as I can see, unless they are talking about expanding them. It doesn't look like they have the room to do that. So it's true that the Miami station has low-level platforms because that's what Tri-Rail needs. Tri-Rail has a different platform height from Brightline, which is why Brightline has 3 tracks that are on one platform, and Tri-Rail will have 2 tracks on another platform that's at a different height. And then Metro Rail has 2 tracks that are currently outside the building but will be connected, so you'll be able to walk right from one to another. The company intends to construct a station in Orlando located within GOAA's new multimodal facility. I have no idea what that is. I haven't looked into it at all, but that's interesting that there would be a multimodal facility, and I'm assuming that may connect somehow with Sunrail, which is a train system in Orlando that currently looks like it's on the opposite side of the airport. So you have to get from the Brightline to the Sunrail, but you could take the train to the Miami airport, the Brightline train to the Miami airport, and then take the Sunrail train to get to downtown Orlando or points north. Anyway, that's pretty much the interesting stuff that's in this document. So there's a lot of junk in here. There's graphs. There's a lot of stuff. But I'm going to leave this. Alone. Again, there's a link to this document in the description if you want to go look at the document yourself. Page 120 is where the fun stuff starts here. At the beginning of the document, there is the summary is there's like a 4, 5, 6 page study that summarizes what's in the rest of the document, and then there's a slideshow. Both of those sections are pretty interesting, so go look at that if you're interested. So I just want to go back and take a quick look at numbers. Here is the cash flow again. This is also from this document, and you notice they have only in 2018 a negative cash flow, and then in future years they're projecting a positive cash flow. But I got to say, anytime you see a spreadsheet, I don't care if it's a business plan or a product plan or future plans or something like that, you got years across the top, you got revenue expected, and then you got expenses showing a growing profit across the bottom. It's always wrong. the revenue's not going to be as high as they project. The costs are going to be higher than they project, not just for this, but for any project, anytime, anywhere. Now, I'm not alone in this skepticism. Fitch is the rating agency that rated these bonds. They rated them below investment grade. And if you read the Fitch report, which I can't quote because I have an account and I can't quote anything from Fitch because I have confidentiality, I don't know if it's publicly available or not, the details of the report. But if you read the details of the report, they're skeptical about some of the factors and they're optimistic about others, and in total, in the bottom line is that they're skeptical. So they issued an initial rating of BB minus, I think it is, pending the bond issue. I don't think they've modified that since then, which is basically a junk bond rating. So that's an in-depth look at the finances. If you want to keep track of what's going on with Brightline, I do a Brightline update every week. Subscribe, turn on alerts, and see you next time.